Ladies and gentlemen, another exciting episode of the Cowboy Judge Show. I mean, it's fun. It's awesome. It's cool people everywhere, and some people don't know we have so many cool people in this community, and they're like world famous.
Well, and they were speaking of the world. This gentleman, Shep, hiking here, came globe-trotting in from Abu Dhabi. Am I even saying that right?
Yeah, Abu Dhabi.
And runs around teaching people how to make customer service their number one priority. Wrote a book we'll get back into, Be Amazing or Go Home. And then we've got Angela Sharp helping us from Major League Baseball fame with the Cardinals now, right?
Yes, that's right. I'm very excited.
Go Cards. Yeah. Man, this guy.
You ain't kidding. Right. Help us kind of dig into Shep's mind and give us some business insight. It's cool here. We got business stuff, sports stuff. Doctor was on a couple days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So
we're trying to tap it from all sides so people can get a big picture of how awesome St. Louis is and what is possible if you're just willing to put the work in.
Yeah, and you ain't kidding.
And I get blown away by how much Shep's done. I started digging in further. I was referred to him as somebody, I wanted some more public speaking and helping people talk about that. And so I bet you Shep Hike and we'll meet with you. And we met a few years ago.
So you come to my office, right?
Came to your
office.
Hung out on Olive.
So what's a Shep doing in fact, you said shepherd earlier. I think Abu Dhabi, I think of a shepherd. That probably means something bad about me.
My full name is Shepherd.
Okay.
It's like Shep is short for shepherd. It's like Tom and Thomas, Jeff and Jefferson.
Right,
so what are you doing in Abu Dhabi? What can you do for them? What can you do for them?
Just hanging out, just a little vacay.
This gentleman around the world to do what he's done.
I am so lucky.
I'm blown away by this.
So a beautiful place to go in the middle of winter, by the way. It was a beautiful 70 degrees. I was right on the Gulf, working with. I work with a bank out there for this particular trip, and actually. The bank had me work a government program this time. Just a couple of months ago, I was back out there with them working on training all of their employees. And actually what we did is they take my content, I write it up as a program. We certified 12 trainers over in Abu Dhabi who then take it to thousands of employees in the bank. And so that was phase one. And now we're approaching phase two, which I'll go back next month and work with them on that. And I've got a lead trainer that works with me here in the U.S. He's been working with me for 15 years, and we go over and we just help implement this content. And whether it's in Abu Dhabi, next week I'm in Las Vegas at the beginning of the week, Mexico in the following part of the week, and get to go everywhere. This is an amazing journey. I've been doing it for a very short 38 years now, I believe.
Right. So what's the objective? So I'm guessing if you've got content and stuff that you've written up that if you're doing, be amazing or go home, I guess number one is we got to teach everybody to be amazing.
Yeah.
And then two.
And if not, tell them to go home.
And two, it's a choice.
You get to pick.
One or the other.
Yeah,
we talked about this,
and then
right?
two, there might be some adage like, make their problem your problem or something like. What are some takeaways if customer service is, something that you can master or be the best at? Like, what are some things that we need to know that these folks watching?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, my philosophy is, and it is a philosophy, that customer service and experience are not departments. It's not a marketing strategy. It's cultural. So it's a philosophy that's ingrained in the company. So one of the differences, and when we were prior to the show, you said, do I work a lot with call centers, where you call up and get help? And the answer is yes, I do. But really, so much of my work is taking a company and getting them completely customer focused, where everybody, even the people who are behind the scenes, who never see a customer, they need to understand their part. I'll give you a great example of this. Let's say that you're going to take a trip. You're here in St. Louis. You decide you want to go to, where do you want to go?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida.
Hey.
Yeah, that's where she used to live.
Bay Rays or whatever, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's warm and you can play baseball year round.
Exactly. So you're going to take a flight from here to Tampa. You're going to pack your bags. You get to the airport. You check your bag, right? So by the way, that interaction that you have online as you buy your ticket, that's a moment of truth when the customer has an opportunity to form an impression. So was it an easy interaction, that time on the line where you bought your ticket and you checked in? Now you get to the airport. You check your bag at the curb. Another interaction. This one's people to people. You go to the ticket counter. You go to the gate. The flight attendant takes care of you. You agree to the destination. Then you get your bag at the baggage carousel. Well, you give that back. And by the way, it's easy to figure out who's in charge of managing the customer experience when you're actually talking to people.
Right.
But what about that person who checked your bag and you see that bag go down the conveyor belt? What happens at that point? Somebody down there looks at the tag, scans it, puts it on the right pile, it goes onto the right cart, goes out to the airport or airplane. Somebody then gets it onto the plane and then they shift it around for all. The same exact thing happens opposite when you land. About 10 people touch your bag. None of them see your face.
Right.
But if they let you down, and they will when they put that bag on the wrong plane,
Yeah.
they've now destroyed the entire experience. Yeah, we've all been there, which is why we all try to cram everything we own into a little piece of carry-on that will fit in the overhead.
Will fit.
Yes, it will. That's where, it's weighting the whole plane down.
I wear multiple hats. I've literally, coming back from Mexico, I bought these sombreros. I'm like, I'm going to wear one on top of the other and put the cowboy hat on top of that.
And you could get away with that
I
look.
pulled it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this looks like the guy we know.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is that person behind the scenes, if they don't do their job, they're going to let that customer, the passenger, it's going to destroy their experience. Furthermore, that person inside also has an internal customer, and this is really important. The internal customer experience is about the people you work with. At any given time, you're going to support those people or work and help them so they can deliver a better job or a better experience to either their customer, an outside customer, another internal customer. And I always say that baggage person, they not only let the passenger down, but you know where that passenger goes when they've lost their bag? To that little room, and that poor soul that sits behind the counter that has to listen to passengers every day say, "You lost my luggage," when it really wasn't that person, but they appear to be that way, right? So, and they're screaming at them, and I mean, it's just, they need to understand. Everybody has a customer, internal or external. And by the way, it's really sad that person, this is a great story, that person behind the counter gets so much of this. And I didn't write this, and it's on the internet, so you know it has to be true.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
Right, that's how that works.
But the person behind the baggage counter was listening to this passenger screaming and yelling and angry, and then the person just very calmly said, "Sir, right now in the entire world, there's only 2 people that are worried about your luggage, and you're starting to make one of them very upset."
I love that, actually.
So anyway, and maybe as passengers and customers, we need to think of ourselves in the experience world too, and be nice to the people that are taking care of us, because you know what? You do give, and you get. It goes back and forth. You get what you give.
I think about that a lot.
We've talked about that.
I don't know if we're all meandering, down experience lane or something, but at McDonald's a lot of times, I go there having to like it. If I die and go to heaven, I'll probably walk through golden arches. But the people who get so mad and bent out of shape at a McDonald's counter, I mean, I don't know if that's the
What
true
are they
nature.
upset about?
Yeah, and most of the people there are not making 111 grand a year. They're making, a grand a month or something, and they don't want to be there, most of them. And I just wonder how you keep yourself in check. I mean, I have no problem doing it, but you're right. How do you get somebody who should probably every McDonald's worker on earth should make 75 grand minum?
Well, I can tell you,
how do you get them to act like they are?
Taco Bell just announced that new management positions, $110,000.
$110,000.
You got to make them care somehow.
Right.
But the worker people there, they're not making it. The manager.
They're making money, and I'll tell you what's really cool is that when we were kids, maybe, at least when I was a kid, you get a job at McDonald's. Really, you're going to work at McDonald's. Well, today, McDonald's is a great experience, and it's been that way for a while. It's a leadership opportunity. If you gave me a choice of somebody that didn't have, I shouldn't say that. I love people that have any kind of frontline retail experience that come and apply for a job working with us. Because they understand how to work with people. But at McDonald's, there's actually this leadership level they try to teach. And that's something, if you're there just for a part-time job, it's a part-time job. But a kid that gets a job at McDonald's, it's a good job. A kid that gets a job in almost any retail store. The executive vice president, worldwide customer service all over the world for American Express, Jim Bush, this guy, I interviewed him, he figured it out. He said, if I had a choice between hiring somebody who's worked in a call center and support center before and has lots of experience, or hiring somebody from a hotel, he'll take the person at the hotel. Why? Because they have that hospitality mentality. They know how to take care of people, and whether it's a hotel, a retail store, a restaurant, people who have frontline, people-focused jobs tend to do better later on when they have people-focused jobs.
Right.
So that hospitality mentality is a big thing.
And I wonder if part of that is like Angela Sharp, she's on the sidelines at the Tampa Bay, the Cardinals, the Blues, and you have to take timid people sometimes and turn them into somebody who will be on camera. And when you've got people who deal at the hotel, pressing the flesh, if you've always been in a call center and it's just a little voice chirping through the phone, they probably need a little bit of that to bring a human aspect to a phone call, that kind of American Express especially.
Well, I think when people, are hired to do this, you expect that they're going to have that. I just wrote an article about batteries included, batteries not included. If there's, it's about people. People come to work, they're either the batteries are on or they don't have them. And who do you want working with you? Somebody that's got a battery that's fully charged, that's got that attitude and excitement. And by the way, you can profile them. There's all types of assessments that you can use when you hire people. Their backgrounds obviously lend themselves. You want somebody, the DISC profile system, which we're not going to get into, but the S stands for social. How high on the social spectrum? If you want to hire somebody that's going to be in front of people, that's going to manage an experience, especially when they're not happy, you want somebody that can handle things and is compliant and disciplined, but also has the empathy and social factor that's necessary to build rapport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Angela,
so,
sorry.
And that's where she comes in.
Thanks.
How often do you deal with this? I mean, you got crazy fans.
You have people on occasion that are maybe aren't as pleased with what's happening, and you just have to kind of diffuse the situation and kind of move on. But what I love is here that Shep has now mentioned it multiple times. You've written a couple books. You have 2 out now,
there's about
one
7,
coming out, right?
7,
Okay.
Yeah. It's a couple times.
We're going to show them here in a
And
second.
you mentioned it like it was no big deal, but what I'm really interested in is the book that you gave Mike over there, the Be Amazing or Go Home. So it's customer service, but it also is kind of motivational.
So there's 7 categories of habits, and within each of those 7 categories, I put 5 subcategories. So there's really 35 habits. So this is a great story about Be Amazing or Go Home, the title. But before I do that, I just want to say, Angela, I have been a fan of yours for years. Okay, and of course every guy in St. Louis loves her, because, especially the hockey fans, okay, because you would go around, and I just love your enthusiasm, and I've watched you interview people, and I love it's like, let's go Blues. Give me a let's go Blues. Let's go Blues. Some of these people are like that. It's like batteries were not included. Okay, they were a kid. They were given a charisma bypass from their doctor. They went into surgery and they sucked every bit of enthusiasm out of their brains, and that's sometimes what we have to deal with.
Yeah, we do.
You probably have had a few people sitting in this chair that you're going, I can get through this. We've only got 16 minutes left. What can I ask them now? So
it seems like we get pretty lucky, because the card is always out in the public eye so much that we get to kind of pick who's coming.
Well, and I try to bring the excitement wherever I'm at. Just my perspective on life is, you shouldn't spend a minute being miserable. I mean, every minute you're spending your life miserable, it's turning you the wrong direction. Energy going the wrong direction. How are you going to make up for that?
We're lucky. I mean, we have jobs that we have chosen to do. I don't know if you chose to be the lawyer and the judge. Maybe your parents made you do this, but I know your parents, when you were born, they were thinking, I'm going to make sure he wears that cowboy hat the rest of his life.
Yeah, it was too fantabulous for them. I got a lot of grief for a short period of time, and then they really began to realize the message that I had that went along with it. And first thing my dad taught me is, what's the first thing that any business has to have before they do anything?
Logo.
So they've got to get somebody's attention, right?
Right.
Yeah. Gary Vee talks about it all the time. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Have you had him on the show?
He told me he's trying to get on. We're going to see if we can fit him in.
He's great. But you're ready to push the button.
Yeah. Beep, beep. I know. He gets very enthusiastic.
He does.
But just if you don't have somebody's attention, and then on top of that, once they got their attention, that's where you're kicking in. You got them, they're ready to do something, and now they're not treated. The slightest little thing is not said the right way.
And the point of that, and we're going to come back to the title of the book and why this is applying to everybody.
I interrupted your story.
No, that's all right. No, but to your point, I tell my clients, you spend so much money on social media and marketing and advertising, getting somebody to walk through your doors or pick up the phone or allow a salesperson to come out and meet with them. And it doesn't matter whether it's business to consumer or business to business, B2B. Really, at the end of the day, when that person, that customer interacts with whoever that employee is, if they aren't properly trained, they don't have the right attitude, they aren't going to deliver that relationship building service and experience that the customer wants, all that money that you just spent, you might as well just give it to us, right?
Hand it over.
Take a vacation somewhere with that money.
I've got to brag about you a little bit. And so people are going to be curious, why are you showing the picture up here on the wall? This is Mr. Grant Cardone. A lot of people are familiar with Grant, and he is like world famous. It's just, he was a Hard Knocks kid and went through some stuff and then became a good sales guy, and now he's like world renowned. He's got the 10X book. You got to write everything you got to do it. If you're going to be the champ, if you're going to be the best, you got to 10X it, right?
Right.
And I started looking up a little bit of information. I'm like, let me find a little bit about Shep, and I'm like, Guess who? This is like being on Johnny Carson and trying to be a famous comedian.
Wait. Do you know who Johnny Carson is?
I love Johnny Carson. I watch all those reruns. You have to watch those.
They fast forward to Jay Leno or whoever.
Jay
Leno. No, Johnny Carson was the
for those that happen to be under 40 years old, okay, Johnny Carson was the host of The Tonight Show for God knows how many. He was my idol growing up.
They've got the reruns on all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I watch.
I think Grant is the equivalent for the business world. I mean, there's only a couple people that rank up there with him.
Gary Vaynerchuk's one.
Vaynerchuk's another one.
And by the way, I joke about, because he drops the F-bomb a lot.
Right.
But he's so passionate.
Yes.
And he's very smart.
He's a marketing guy that turned into
very smart.
Isn't your life just meant to be happy? But let me talk about this real quick because I saw the video. I'm like, how can I present this? I'm like, there's Grant, and then look who he's interviewing.
Hey, that's me.
That's
World Headquarters, by the way. That's
is that the office?
Building? Yeah, I have apparently major ADD, and I need to be stimulated by many things around me, and my guitars, and my obviously piles of paper, my baseball, and hockey puck collection. Hey, there's a little Stanley Cup right behind there too. Yeah.
But you're getting interviewed by Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I knew you had done stuff. I've watched your keynote speaker. I looked through your LinkedIn keynote speaker. 12 books. Let's go to the next slide here. All right. I only put 6 of them up there.
Which one's missing?
And so, well, there was a long list, and a couple of the images didn't come up.
This one's missing. The Cult of the Customer.
So hold that up there. We can edit that and put that in.
Well, that one's not out yet, right?
No, they will. Well, actually, it's a re-release of a book that came out with all new stats, facts, stories. We took people out that are now in jail that we quoted. We can't leave them.
Oh, wow.
Companies that are out of business, got to get rid of those. Okay.
Oh, wow.
But at the time when I write any of these books, I always put a disclaimer. I'm going to share information about companies, and as of this writing,
that's what it is.
They're great at what they do.
Okay.
Yep.
And companies do come down, fall, and have issues. But
you're
there to save it.
You said ADD, and we've had people on before. A lot of the folks who are multi-talented or accomplish a lot of things seem to kind of reference that I guess I take in the mean that boredom is just not allowed or something.
Yeah.
So when you're writing a book, when you get done with this one, Cult of the Customer, updating it, or you're like, I just
already have another one.
Yeah,
going.
I got another one.
I've already started the other. I started like a year ago.
So it's more like a habit or a need.
Well, in my business, if you want to write, you need to write a lot. So I have multiple columns I write every week. This is, by the way, the world changed. When I first started my business, and I know I look very young, but I started my business in 1983, right out of college. Bald guys look young. Until one day they don't. Really, that's the truth. It's like, he looked the same for like 30 years, and one day, what happened? Because it just happens. Anyway, so where am I going with this?
Let's keep it on right, and you have to in your business.
So it used to be, in order to get business, I had to pick up the phone and smile and dial. And I know that, Carter, you and I, we talked about what you wanted me to talk about is like, how did this all start? Well, I decided to do this. I went to World News, which is in Clayton, and it's still there. And I was there when I was a kid. I pulled out all the full-page ads in the business magazines. I bought them first, by the way.
That was nice. I'm glad.
I bought them, and then I pulled out the full-page ads. And
not good to start your career as a thief.
Yeah, I know. Well, they never caught me. That was it. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Anyway, and I said, if they've got a full-page ad in a business magazine, they're selling something. Therefore, they probably have a meeting with salespeople. Therefore, they might hire a speaker to come to that meeting. And then I had to go to the library to research the phone numbers and the addresses of these places because there was no internet back then. Right. I think it was Al Gore had not invented what George Bush called the internets.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Look at that. I got the Republicans and the Democrats in one sentence.
Very magical.
So
neither of them had anything to do with the internet, but
exactly.
being developed.
But anyway, so things have changed, and now I don't have to make the calls. Although I still will make calls. Don't get me wrong. But the best way to market today is through putting value out there, and I do it in the form of writing articles. So every Sunday I have a column in Forbes that comes out. Every Monday I write about the 5 favorite articles I read from the week before, and I read probably 5 to 10 articles a day. On Tuesdays, I do a podcast. On Wednesdays, I have a regular article I send to subscribers, plus it goes on my blog. On Thursdays, I shoot a video. On Friday, Sabbath, day of rest, I let somebody do a guest article.
Right.
And then on Saturday, what do we do on Saturday? Saturdays are always good days. Lots of social media to promote Sunday. And of course, I have a now great TV show called Be Amazing or Go Home. filmed.
And you
How
filmed
long has that been going
Yeah.
on?
An awesome
We've
studio.
been doing it about a year. Finished the first season.
And
So,
where does it broadcast normally? How do
all
they pick
over
it up?
the world.
Just
It's
through-
on Amazon Prime, Roku, Apple TV. It basically streaming services, plus anywhere that like a YouTube type channel. But anyway, that's not. But the title, "Be Amazing or Go Home." Can we go back to that because he wanted to?
Yeah.
we were
Yeah, I
gonna-
wanna know, I wanna
so
know.
this is for everybody. My assistant. At the time she was wonderful, still is wonderful, but she's just not my assistant anymore. And she would show up late, not a big deal the first time. But the second time, this is not her personality. Third day in a row, she shows up late. I bring her in, what's going on? She goes, I moved and I'm just trying to figure out what time to get to work here. And I go, well, what are you doing? She goes, I leave earlier every day. I go, well, that's not what amazing people do. And I use the word amazing a lot. Our mantra at Shepherd Presentations, my company, is always be amazing. We're amazing to our clients. We teach our clients to be amazing to their customers and clients, and we hopefully are amazing to each other. So I said, this is what amazing people would do. They would, instead of leaving earlier, they would leave really early, and then when they realized they got here an hour too soon, or half an hour, or whatever, they would start getting closer. That's the opposite way of thinking. Makes sense? Right.
Give yourself more room so you can.
So she goes, good
overcompensate.
idea. Well, the next day she showed up late again. So, and then after 5 days, I brought her in the office. I said, look, you're my assistant. You represent me. Other people in my organization are going to see you showing up late. And guess what happens? You give them permission if I don't do something about this.
Right.
So here is the deal. What is our mantra here at Shepherd Presentations? She said, always be amazing. By the way, mantra, another big lesson. Create a vision of what your company should be known for and make it short, 1 sentence or less. This case, 3 words. Always be amazing. Easy for her to remember. And I go, do you think showing up late every day is amazing behavior? And she said, no. And then I thought about it. I said, well, then you've got a choice. You get to either be amazing or go home.
All right.
And I said it with a smile because I knew that's pretty hardcore,
Yeah,
right?
that's ours, yeah.
And so I looked at her and I waited for a reaction, and then she said, you need to write that down. That would be a great title for a book. And I did.
here we are.
She's
How long
redeemed
ago was
herself
it?
all there.
How long
once.
ago was that?
Oh, this was at least 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And
Did she go home?
No. So, well, here, interesting what happened is she fixed it right away. And
Okay.
when I put it in those terms, she started showing up on time. So this was in September. And I said, if you're still here at the end of the year, it means we fixed this little problem. Because to me, and I love this quote, Shakespeare said, better 3 hours too early than 3 minutes late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And my dad taught me about being on time, and it's a total respect thing, and I get that. So I said, because she was wonderful in every other area, I said, but you got to represent me the right way, especially internally, because when I'm not here, you're me, in a sense. So she's there at the end of the year, which means she fixed it, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I said, and if you're there at the end of the year, I give you a huge raise. And I did.
Okay.
And then I said, but I don't think the money's going to make you happy. And she goes, Shep, I have to drive like over an hour to work and an hour home every day. I got my grandkids I want to see, my kids. I just don't know what to do. I said, you need to find a job that's closer to home. Because she used to live 2 miles away. Now she lives 27 miles away, and it's hard. And so we fixed it. And we let her exit gracefully, and we're still friends on Facebook. Everybody stays friends on Facebook.
You have to
et
stay
cetera.
friends on Facebook.
But we're friends, really. She'll call me, we'll talk, and she's a wonderful person.
Good.
I think you should talk about that book a little bit more because that's customer service, but there are also like
Right.
life lessons in
Yeah,
this
that's
book.
where you really get to focus on.
Yeah, and that's why I said that, the subtitle is 7 Customer Service Habits, because that's my brand, is customer service and experience, that create relationships or confidence with everyone. So,
Yes.
and to me, that's what it is. When you're in a relationship at home, almost all of these habits are appropriate for what's at home as well as what's happening in your business life as well. And there's plenty of good habits. We're proactive. We love feedback. We show up on time. We manage mistakes well. We're progressive in our thinking. We're innovative. So you don't have to be great at all 35 of them. But even if you found one, you say, you know what, I need a little work on that, and you fix it, you've just made major improvement in your life. Small improvements turn into big things over a period of time.
So are some of this kind of like, I don't know, Brian Tracy or Dale
Brian's-
Carnegie?
Yep.
I mean, it kind of got a little bit of a
Never
flavor?
met Dale. I think he was gone a long
No,
time.
he went
but
to-
Yeah,
Brian
I think
and
he would have been
we've
much
known
gone.
each other for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were on a board together. He's a great
Psychology
guy.
of achievement and all that stuff?
Yep. And one of the greatest speakers, my whole speaking style, I watched Brian Tracy. So the first 2 speakers I ever saw in real life were Zig Ziglar okay,
we know.
who is just wonderful, and Tom Hopkins. Ziggs passed away. I saw those guys, and that's when I decided I could do what I could do, because in my background, I used to do magic shows, started when I was 12. Did you know this?
I did not know.
We had a magician on here not long ago.
Who was it?
Josh McVicker.
Josh is, I guess he's
Do you
amazing.
know him?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
He's great. What am I going to say?
He's amazing.
He vanished, and I never even saw him. That's no, Josh is a great guy, I think. Anyway, so I started doing magic tricks when I was 12, worked in birthday parties, eventually nightclubs. Best job I ever had, by the way. Even as of today, 16 years old, comedy and magic at the Playboy clubs. This is a great job.
Chicago?
For a 16-year-old young
16-year-old
man.
kid,
Yeah,
this is-
unbelievable. Yes.
This prepared you for life.
I was thinking, how could I keep this gig? And so went to college, graduated college, and I had regular jobs too, but I still worked in nightclubs. And I saw these speakers, and I said, that's what I could do. I'll write a speech, and I could put a little entertainment into it. And I saw Brian Tracy, and Brian's style was, here's a point, here's 6 ways to do that.
Right.
And then he'd move on to another point. And that's how all my speeches are set up. Here's the idea, now let me give you actionable ways to make it happen. So it's not just theory.
Now he's got, and we're running out of time, but I'm so curious about this. He's got, any thought held continuously in the conscious mind must come into reality to the degree you believe it. And he goes down to
Law
the
of attraction right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes to the minuscule micro level of saying, if you need a parking spot in Clayton at lunch, if you know it's there, you're pulling right in. And obviously,
I don't know.
I know. That's what I'm asking.
You
Do
can go a little far
Do you
with
like
that.
him that much? Or?
I love Brian. Brian is a brilliant man. Being with him for I was president of the National Speakers Association, but I was on the board for 9 years leading up to that, and Brian joined us on the board for part of that time. And Brian, when he talked, everybody listened because the guy, even if we don't always agree, he is so insightful with what he has to share.
But he's getting up. He's probably, not that age means that much, but he's probably 77 and a half, isn't he?
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn?
Jim Rohn, I had a great opportunity to work with him a few times and meet him. What a wonderful man. That guy, smart as can be.
So the strategy here, and I love what Angela was saying, this is not just a customer service thing that helps company make more money. That's always been kind of pushed off as a side thing. Got to have customer service, but the sales happens over here. It does so much, but it impacts this strategy. This philosophy impacts everyday lives and does a little bit to help organizations like the ones we have here in Seattle.
What about
By
these
the way,
rings?
I gotta say, those rings. I have to
I'm
say.
so glad you brought yours, Shep. I'm so glad you brought yours.
I brought mine.
There we go.
So I only got one.
Get a zoom in on there.
Are they all the cubic zirconia, or is it?
These are real, 100% real cubic zirconia.
Yeah, that's great.
What's the story behind yours?
So the Stanley Cup.
I know that. but I mean-
Stanley Cup.
I don't know if you know this. There's a team called the St. Louis Blues.
Mike's a judge.
They won the Stanley Cup
Yeah.
recently.
No, but I mean, how'd you get your ring? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about your. I don't know if
did
you're part
it
owner.
the
or-
old-fashioned way. I bought it. So this is actually the fan ring. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this
And
is not the real ring.
This came out actually,
let's
and then
zoom in on
they
that for
modified
certain.
it. But I can say mine does have my last
But I
name.
know where you got it.
His
So
has
does mine.
his
Mine has my
last
name
name
on it.
Oh, well, you got
and
it
on the
there.
inside, it says Flag Boy.
I gotta get a
Because
picture
I
of this.
carried the flag in the parade.
Shep's ring
Nice.
looks most like the real one.
Yeah, and that's where I was aggravated because I got this one. I thought this was the deal, and then they came out with the official, and it's got the Stanley
right.
Cup behind it. But they both look awesome.
That looks good on
I
you.
feel like I needed to get one of these and I didn't get one. So
so
now I'm just
big.
gonna, put Shep's in my pocket.
There you
So
go.
as a fan, you could buy, there's different levels of rings, and I said, you know what, I've got to have that for special occasions. And being on this show with that hand,
You ain't
this was
kidding.
one of my
That's
occasions.
perfect.
Rock it. You gotta put it back on.
This and like New Year's Eve and when
got
we
it.
make it back into the playoffs again.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
exactly.
think they might do it again. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say because I don't want to jinx them. I'm a superstitious guy being a baseball fan and a hockey fan. We appreciate you coming on.
Oh,
today,
thanks,
Shep.
bro. Thank you so much for having me.
Angela.
Angela,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank
You're
you.
awesome.
Yeah,
Great to
appreciate
see
it.
you
Nice to
again.
see
Yeah.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Cowboy Judge Show with Angela Sharp in the house. Giddy up.